Guys, so about a month ago I made a video introducing you guys to my chinchillas, and you guys seem to really love that video, and I love talking about my chinchillas and I loved making that video, so I thought I would make another chinchilla related video. So this is going to be talking about like what I consider to be the essentials that you should have before you get a chinchilla. So I think I touched on it in my last video, but we had done research about chinchillas. We had looked into like what they need, the types of cages that work best, like what kind of bedding we wanted to use, all of that stuff beforehand. But actually getting them ended up being a really spur of the moment thing. It wasn't planned out. We didn't really have time to get everything. So like everything we have now we got in stages, which I would still get it in stages, but I would get it before the chinchillas. So this is basically like my checklist of if we were to get more chinchillas, what I would want to get before we actually get them. So the first is obviously a cage. That is like the most important thing you need for a chinchilla, and your cage is pretty much your biggest investment. They're pretty expensive, but a good cage is going to last you their whole life. So the cage that I knew I wanted to get was a Critter Nation or a Ferret Nation, or like the one we got, which is like a no-name version of the Critter Nation. So it's basically a huge massive cage. I will have the video of the cage tour linked, but it's a really tall cage. There's lots of levels, there's lots of places for them to run and jump, and that is what a chinchilla needs. You want to recreate their natural habitat and allow them to run and jump and not be stuck in one place. So when we did get them, they came in quite a small cage. It was not what I wanted, and you could tell they're much happier in a big cage than they ever were in that tiny little cage. So our cage was about $300, and that's around the range that most Critter Nations and Ferret Nations are. There are some smaller cages. There's the Feisty Ferret. That's another really popular one with chinchilla owners. My parents had a Feisty Ferret. The only downside of that one is only half of it opens. So in the front there are two doors on the Critter Nation. Both of those doors open. On the Feisty Ferret, only one side opens. So when you want to clean the cage or take the pan out, it's really awkward, and you can't really have anything like screwed onto the side of the cage, because when you go to take the pan out, it's not gonna go all the way, you know what I mean? So that one is a little more compact, and it's not a bad cage by any means. It's just not the one I would recommend. I prefer the one we have because it totally opens up, it's super easy to clean, and I just don't like the Feisty Ferret that much. But obviously do your research, check out different cages, see what you like. If you have a smaller space, the Feisty Ferret might be better for you because it is a little more compact, but it's all up to you. But I would definitely recommend the Critter Nation or Ferret Nation, or the knockoff version. So the next thing that goes along with the cage is going to be modifications to the cage. So no cage is actually designed for a chinchilla. You're gonna see lots of products with pictures of chinchillas on them, but it's not actually good for them. So all cages are full of plastic, and plastic is really bad for chinchillas and pretty much all small mammals in general, because they chew and they're gonna ingest the plastic and they're gonna get really sick. So all of the cages I mentioned come with plastic pans. So I'm not sure about the Feisty Ferret, but it's pretty easy to get metal pans for the Ferret Nation and the Critter Nation, because it is the most popular cage with chinchilla owners. So most companies that sell the metal pans have the dimensions, they know what shapes you need, so they're pretty easy to order. They're not too expensive, but I do suggest replacing the plastic with metal pans. The only time I would say like it's kind of okay not to is in like the case of my parents. They have the same cage as us, but they still have the plastic pans, but they use pillowcase style bedding. So they use fleece bedding, but it's like a pillowcase and the pan slips inside. So there's no plastic exposed for the chinchillas to chew on. So if you want to go that route, leaving the plastic in is fine as long as it's covered and they can't get to it. So that segues me into bedding. We use fleece bedding. It is what I would suggest. It's more cost effective. You just take it and you wash it. When we got them, they were not on fleece bedding. So, I mean, they didn't really act weird about it. They do still kind of just pee everywhere. So the bedding does, like, I don't know. I never have any issues with the pee soaking all the way through. It's 2 layers of fleece that we have. So it seems fine. Fabric, I don't know what you even call it, like bedding that comes in a bag, like the loose like fiber bedding, you have to really be careful about. Like wood shavings, there's only certain woods that chinchillas can have, so you really have to be careful with that. The like fiber bedding, you would also have to be really careful about that as well. I don't think any of them are harmful if they're ingested because they're making it for these animals, but the one litter that we used did have these like blue pieces that were the same like material as some of the beddings on the market, and Chili would always eat those. Like she loved them, so I would always, you know, pick those out and make sure those weren't going in their litter pan because I didn't really want her eating them. I'm sure it's not going to harm her, but at the same time, like, it's probably not that good for her. But yeah, I don't know about like that kind of bedding. That's not my expertise, I guess, because I don't use it. But I would definitely suggest fleece bedding. And along with the bedding on the pans, look into accessories, hammocks, hanging houses. There's tons of different things you can have. Tubes, tube covers, like things for them to play in and sleep in and be comfortable in. So like I said, along with fleece bedding, there's also tons of fleece accessories. So this is one of the accessories we have. This is a very big one. This is a bunk bed hammock from Zoe and Lilo's toy box. So this one's great. We have a bunk bed hammock, a regular hammock, a cylinder house. I think that's everything we have in there right now. But so for fleece bedding, we have 2 full sets with like accessories and everything, and then we have 2 sets of just liners. So like this is part of our pink set, so we have 2 sets of like some sort of pink liners, and then we have this one. This is like our pink bunk bed hammock, and we actually have 2 pink cylinder houses because they keep chewing on these parts that the hooks go into. They keep wrecking those. And then we have a pink hammock and a pink tube cover, and I didn't bring them out with me, but pink cuddle buddies, so they're just little pillows that they can lay on. And then we have like a repeat of all of that in blue. So we have 4 sets of liners, which we got over time, like it wasn't all purchased at once. But same with this stuff. So like bedding, we're kind of crazy. We have everything. And I want to get more because I'm a psycho person, but that's fine. So going along with cage, other things I would suggest for their cage are a glass water bottle. So you want something glass, or if it's plastic on the outside in an area where they can't chew on it, because again, you don't want them ingesting any of this. A hay holder. So we have a wooden hay holder. They can eat it, they can destroy it. Ours don't really chew on it. My parents' chinchillas, however, they had the same hay holder and they destroyed it in one night, so it was useless. They have a metal one now, and there's a lot of people that say the metal ones are bad because there's hinges and they can get their feet stuck in it and stuff like that. They've never had any issues, so it's kind of all dependent on your chinchilla and how they react to things, but some sort of hay manager that's not dangerous. So this is the glass water bottle we have. This is the backup one I have. This is by National Geographic. This does leak. Water bottles are a pain. You obviously need them, but I feel like every single water bottle on the market leaks, or even the ones that people are like, it hardly leaks, but it still leaks. Like all water bottles leak. and then a food dish. So the food dish we have is like a little ring that screws onto the side of the cage. That way they can't move it around. We do have 2 ceramic ones that we put treats in, and they're always moving those around, knocking those over. I'm surprised they haven't knocked it onto the lower level and like broken one yet. But I would steer clear of like just dishes that can be moved easily, because they're going to move them, they're going to flip them over, and it's annoying and it's messy. So a food dish that screws onto the side of the cage is what I would suggest. And then other cage accessories, like I mentioned, hammocks and stuff like that, but also ledges. So with the Critter Nation and the Ferret Nation, there's like 2 levels in each level. So there's the main level, and then there's a half pan, like a half level. On the top, we took the half level out, and we have just different shelves. So these are like wooden shelves, places for them to jump and have fun on. I would definitely suggest getting at least a few wood shelves. Anywhere that sells them is going to sell you kiln dried pine. Kiln dried pine. So you can make these yourself. You just have to make sure you do your research. Make sure you're getting the right woods, nothing that's going to poison your animal. You do have to, if you buy pine, you do have to bake it to make sure there's no like microorganisms and stuff like that in it that are going to harm your chinchilla. And then you just get like some bolts and screws and stuff and make a shelf. It's not that hard. We haven't actually made any ourselves. We've purchased all of ours, but it is pretty simple to make them yourself. It's a piece of wood. That's all it is. But you definitely want to have some sort of thing for them to jump around on, get some exercise, have some fun. So these are some of the smaller ledges. These ones are just extra. Like, we don't really have a spot for these in the cage right now, but these ones are like perches. So you would stagger them like this, and they would jump from one to the other. And then if you have a bigger ledge, you could have that at the top, and these work as like the stairs kind of thing, which is pretty much how we have it set up. So another thing I would suggest that we don't have is a wheel. Wheels are very expensive, and they take up a lot of room in the cage. I do want to get one at some point, but they're expensive. For a good wheel. They do sell wheels at the pet store, and they sell wheels that say they're for chinchillas, but they are not. So, you know, the plastic ones are bad because they're plastic. And then there's metal ones, but most of the metal ones are mesh, so their toes can get stuck in there and they can break a leg. And I've never seen a wheel at the pet store that's actually big enough for them. I think the minimum for chinchillas is 15 inches diameter. And I don't think I've ever seen one that big at the pet store. 15 inches might actually even be too small. I might be wrong on that. But I would suggest a wheel if you can afford it, for sure. It's definitely great for them to have. Eventually, I want to get a wheel, but I also want to get an addition onto the top of their cage. So you can actually make, like the Ferret Nation and the Critter Nation, 3 levels high. And they can all be separated into separate cages if you want, but I want to do 3 levels and then put their wheel on the bottom level. Right now I feel like if I put a wheel in there, I'd have to take away something else, and I don't want to like take away from them. And that's pretty much it for cage. So that is a lot of stuff that you need just for their cage. And yes, the costs do start adding up pretty quickly. Most of these things though are going to last you a long time. Like I mentioned, the cage itself should last you their whole lifetime. You shouldn't really have to replace that. So yeah, it is like a $300+ cost to get a good quality cage, but that's a one-time purchase. Same with the shelves. They will chew them and wear them down, and they're not going to last forever, but they should last you a good while. Food dish, water bottle, those should last you pretty much forever. We do have a second water bottle just because it's glass. I always get nervous that one day someone's gonna trip or slip or fall and the water bottle's gonna break. And knowing my luck, it's gonna be on a holiday where the pet store's closed and I'm not gonna be able to get them a new water bottle. The next things are food, hay, and dust. So for food, we use the Chinchilla Essentials. This is one of the best foods. I would recommend that one or the Missouri pellets. you don't want anything with any extra stuff in them. They don't need flower petals. They don't need dried fruit. A lot of that stuff isn't even really that good for them. That's what I mean. A lot of pet store products aren't actually good for your pet. So definitely make sure you do your research with food. We did ours. That's why I stick with Oxbow. We buy it online in bulk. We only buy food like once a year maybe. So I would also suggest looking into that because food can be expensive. Hay. So it is suggested that they eat Timothy hay. It always be available to them. You can give them alfalfa hay, but it's suggested alfalfa hay in like moderation as a treat. But alfalfa hay should be, Timothy hay should be like always abundant and there for them. They're supposed to have more hay than they do pellets. Mine are kind of strange. I feel like they don't like the hay when it sits out. Like when it's first put out and it's fresh, they go nuts over it, but then they just don't really touch it unless it's fresh. I don't know if that's just a weird thing with them. I find they eat more pellets than hay, but they're eating, they're healthy. It's not the end of the world. I do always provide them with hay. They just choose the pellets over the hay. And then dust. So chinchillas do not bathe in water. You cannot get them wet. It is really dangerous for them to get wet. It's super unhealthy. They can get really sick and die from getting too wet. I mean, a few drops of water, it's gonna happen, but you cannot soak your chinchilla. That is not okay. So they bathe in dust. It's like the same as when you spray dry shampoo in your hair. It absorbs the oils and keeps them clean. So this is the dust we currently have. This is Blue Cloud Chinchilla Dust Bath. This is by Oxbow, the same brand that we buy our food from. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's actually the Oxbow one in here. We did order some Blue Cloud dust from Zoe and Lilo's Toy Box in bulk, and it came in a Ziploc bag. And I saved the plastic container and put it in here. So this is probably just like some generic Blue Cloud brand, but pretty much most brands use some sort of Blue Cloud dust. So that is what we currently have. We usually do dust baths about twice a week. They don't really need it more than that. I never keep the dust right in their cage because it is way too messy, and they don't need it every single day. They're fine without it. You can tell when they need it. They will start getting like greasy looking. When we first got Chili, she would always end up looking really greasy because she was such a nervous chinchilla. Like she wouldn't go in the bath, like the dust bath that we got when we got them, because the previous owners gave us everything. The lid was all cracked and like taped together, so I got a new bathhouse for them. And like, I don't know if it was too small or if it was because it was closed in. She would not go in it. She would rather stay dirty and roll around on whatever dust fell out on the floor than go into that dust house. So she would never take a proper bath in the beginning. Even when we used the old bath, she still wouldn't really like roll in it too much. She was just so nervous and timid when we first got her. So she would end up getting greasy because she wouldn't take a bath. And even now sometimes she like won't go in the bath, and you have to like half force her into it because she's just a particular little animal and she drives me nuts. So the last essential in my opinion is toys. So treats aren't really an essential, but I will talk about treats a little bit, but toys. So chinchillas are rodents, which means their teeth are constantly growing, so they need to chew. So there's tons of toys out there. They can be pretty pricey if you're buying from the pet store. I purchase almost everything we have from Zoe and Lilo's Toy Box, which I will have linked down below, but her stuff is really reasonably priced. You can buy stuff in bulk. You can make your own toys out of what she sells. You can buy pre-made toys. There's tons of options for you. So we usually do a big order 2 or 3 times a year and get a lot of stuff. So we'll get like, so these are some of the pre-made toys. She does have hanging ones too. These ones are just toss toys, so it's just like vine balls and wooden beads, and this one's like a longer vine and like small vine balls and beads. And they'll eat the strings, they'll like eat all of this and play with it, and it's really good for their teeth and fun for them. They need stimulation. You can tell when they get bored, they need something to do. They're both kind of perked up when they saw me go in the closet and get all this stuff. Some of the other stuff is like these wooden things. So if you've ever had rabbits or if you've ever had mice or anything in your house, you know that they chew on wood. So in here I have like these wooden beads, wooden like blocks and stuff. All of this stuff has holes so it can be made into toys, or you can just give it to them like this and they will chew it and destroy it and basically have a good time. But it's good for their teeth. It grinds their teeth down because they are constantly growing. They need to constantly be chewing on stuff. So stuff like this. There's tons of other stuff that she sells, and you can buy a lot of stuff similar to this at the pet stores. But toys are an essential for them. They need this stuff. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. They need to chew on wood and vines, and so treats. Treats are kind of a iffy subject. There's a lot of people that say chinchillas can have this, but other people say they can't, like raisins. A lot of people give their chinchillas raisins. I don't, because they are really high in sugar content, and they shouldn't have that much sugar. There's no sugar in their natural diet. Anything that has sugar is a treat. And if you give them too many like raisins and things that are high in sugar, they can get diarrhea, which means they're sick. They're not healthy. So I don't give them raisins. What I would suggest instead of raisins are these, which are rose hips. So I do order these off Zoe and Lilo's toy box. I'm not really sure where else you would get rose hips, but these are like whole dried rose hips. They prefer the crushed ones, also bought off Zoe and Lilo's toy box. So it's the same thing, but it's just like the shell crushed up. So this is a lot less work for them. That's probably why they like these ones more, because they're lazy. Another thing is this. This is a massive bag. This is apple pumice. So pumice is a rock. They eat rocks. So we also refer to this as chinchilla crack, because if you give this to Chili, because Chili's more crazy for this than Pepper, her pupils dilate. She goes nuts for this stuff. It is good for their teeth. It is good for them. The rose hips are really good for them as well. They're high in vitamin C, so it's super healthy. So those are like probably the best treats. There's a lot of like other like flowers and stuff like that, but this is what we get because it is what's most available to us. The other things I would suggest are Cheerios. So you're not going to give them Honey Nut Cheerios. You're going to give them just the plain old boring Cheerios. They love them. It's not high in sugar. It's just like a grain, but they eat it like a little donut. They hold it in their hands. Another good cereal for them is shredded wheat. They really love shredded wheat. I don't know why, but they do. So those are pretty much the only treats we give them. Treats aren't really an essential, but they are something you're going to want to give them. One thing I didn't mention in this essentials video was litter and litter boxes. So you don't really need to try and litter train your chinchilla. Mine are like half litter trained. They're not really that great at it. But for a litter dish, all I use is a glass Pyrex dish that I bought from Walmart for like $5 maybe. I have two. I have one on the top level and one on the lower level. And the litter I use is a KT like dried corn. KT is the brand. I think it's dried corn kernel. I get it in the bird aisle though, but it does have a picture of a chinchilla on the front, so it is perfectly safe for them. That is pretty much everything. I know that was a ton of stuff and I'm calling it all essentials, but you need a cage, you need ledges, you need some sort of bedding. You obviously need food and water and a dust bath and all of that stuff. But I will have quite a few products linked down below, a lot of the stuff I talked about. So if there's anything you want to see in more detail, it should be down there for you guys. But I hope you guys liked this video. I love talking about chinchillas. And if you guys want to see more of these videos, please let me know if you have any suggestions or any questions, if you want to know any more about any topics. I would love to talk more about chinchillas. But if you guys like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. And if you have not already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. But I will see you guys in my next video.